Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. As always, I'm bringing you guys another awesome interview. Today I have from Sevendust, that's right, Sevendust, Mr. John Connolly. He is the guitarist and vocalist, backing LeJean on this. So what's going on, John?
Not a whole lot. Just enjoying a little bit of downtime at the house. We just got done with Shiprock. We did that about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and then we did a handful of Florida shows coming off the boat. So time to kind of decompress, get the mix all dialed in for the new acoustic record, and we should be getting some finals, mastering, all that good stuff. That actually should be coming in probably tonight and tomorrow. So moving on along, getting all the artwork finalized and all that good stuff. So exciting times right now.
So let's talk about this. You mentioned Shiprock. Now, How crazy is it nowadays where they can have a freaking concert out on the ocean on a cruise liner?
You know, we got asked to do it. I guess the first one we did was 4 or 5 years back, and we kind of didn't know what to expect going into it, and we haven't missed one since. Every time we get asked to do it, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute yes. It's such a blast because even though we have to technically work, playing a couple shows, for us it's vacation. We get all of our friends to go, and we know. At this point in it, after doing it as many times as we've done it, we literally knew probably half the people on the boat.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, are going to book again, especially if they know that we're going to be on it and all that good stuff. So it's such a blast. There's so many different ones that are out there nowadays. There's country ones, there's hip-hop ones, there's, jam band cruises, there's metal cruises, and it's just such a cool setup, there's always a band playing somewhere, whether it be in the theater or one of the clubs or on the beach. But it's an awesome time. Anytime we get asked to do it, we're definitely going to be going back.
The cool part is, like you said, there's different bands that's on this, but there's a band that's on there that's been busting their ass off the past couple of years, and that's the Butcher Babies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We actually had them, they came out and they opened up a couple of the shows after we got off the boat as well, because we have some mutual friends in the business that kind of work, with them and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, they definitely put on a good show for sure.
Now, Blackout the Sun, really cool CD from you guys. I really like it. And before it came out, you guys took a big long break. Let's talk about that. Did you guys just get tired and say, "Hey, look, we're going to take a break from this," or what happened?
Well, it was kind of a bunch of different things. It was kind of the point where we realized that we needed to, I guess every now and again you do something so much that you kind of take stuff for granted, and we needed to miss Sevendust. We'd been kind of burning the candle at both ends for so long, between making a record and touring, and making a record and touring, and just going back and forth, that you almost get to the point where it's like, you know what, before we wreck it, before we get it to the point where we don't enjoy it anymore or we don't want to do it, let's just unplug from it, because we knew time away always, makes the heart grow fonder. It was a nice, change for us not to just jump straight back into Sevendust mode, but it also kind of gave us a chance to kind of branch out and do some different things. There were a couple different side projects that got started. Morgan and Clint did the Call Me No One project, and Vinny and myself did the Projected project, and LeJean got a chance to go and guest sing on a handful of things that he'd been kind of putting off for years. And, it was an interesting year for sure, because ironically enough, on the 1 year, on one hand, you ask Sevendust fans, what they thought about the break, and most of them will say, well, they basically got 3 records out of it, because they got the 2 side projects and they got a new Sevendust record, done late in the same year. So as far as musical output goes, even though it wasn't totally all Sevendust focused, it was still enough related and enough, connected to our core group that, it kept everyone interested and kind of in the loop. And, we got lots and lots of Call Me No One and Projected fans that, were new, but we have a lot of Sevendust fans that kind of jumped on board too. And anytime you do something different, anytime you step outside the box and do something that's out of your comfort zone, I think it gives you an opportunity to grow. I know both Clint and myself to step into that spot that LeJean has, just dominated for so many years. I mean, being able to sing back up to him has just been, it's a dream come true because he's one of the most talented singers in the game, but he's also one of the most humble human beings you'd ever meet. He's always about positivity and good vibes and, the smile and the handshake and the meeting the fans and all that good stuff. So, to be able to learn from him over the past 20 years and then finally say, okay, I'm gonna step out here and see if I can pull this off, And it was definitely nerve-wracking for sure, but it was such a cool year for us, Even though it wasn't a super active, Sevendust specific year, there was a lot of cool things that were going on. And by the time we hit the studio, we were so excited to get back together that the record literally just fell out. I mean, it came together so quickly. Every day it was just, we were excited to get in there and just start making music together. I mean, as simple as Morgan cracking a beat and, someone playing a riff and Vinny punching a little bass line in here. And then lo and behold, 30 minutes later, we've got the basic, seed for what would end up being one of the songs on the record. But, but the break for us, it was part for the fans, but a lot of it was for us, because we knew that we still love the band, but when you do something so much and so hard and so intensely, sometimes you gotta burn yourself out a little bit, And of course, the big joke was, "Oh, you guys want to take a break from making music, and then you go make more music than you've ever made in your career." Between all the different stuff, but at least it gave the brand, it gave Sevendust a second just to kind of catch its breath. And the fans missed it, we missed it, and I think the record is that much better for us doing it for sure.
It fuels your fire for music, though, man. I mean, regardless if you're taking a year off, it's still there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you always know that it's there, but we had gotten to the point where we were doing Sevendust a little too much. I mean, even when we did Cold Day Memory, it was insane because the fact that we are the label and we're basically flipping the bill for everything. All of the weight is on us. So we literally never stopped touring. We toured all the way through making that record. And we worked really hard on that record, but, to have to leave every weekend to go do, 2 or 3 shows and to shift gears from studio mode back into touring mode, back into studio into touring mode, we all looked at each other when we were finished with that cycle and said, okay, that was a little crazy. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we got it over with and proved, to ourselves that we could do it. But, it was just time. Everyone's got families now. Everyone's got, got kids, and the amount of time that we spend away from our families is, it's pretty extreme. So for us to actually be able to go home, and, I did the projected record, 90% of it, I did it here in the house. I actually made a record at home with my family, which is something that I'd never had a chance to do, and never really in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd have the opportunity to do. But, just be able to spend a little bit more family time was such a cool thing for all of us, just to be able to kind of reconnect and plug back in, because after about a year, our families were like, "What are you guys going on tour? We're ready to get you guys out of here,"
That's good. Let me ask you this, though, man. Talking about recording, do you think that it's a lot easier nowadays to record? Because, like you said, you can do it at home versus back in the day. Which one do you prefer?
And this kind of flies in the face of every producer and every studio owner out there, but my point with the whole projected thing was we knew we wanted to do a side project, and we knew that we wanted it to sound as good as it possibly could. I'm a big fan of really, really big productions. I've always liked the Metallica Black Album. I mean, I'm a huge fan of all the earlier stuff, but there was something so massive about the way that record sounded. Metallica had never sounded like that up until that point. And they spent a lot of money to do it, and what my point was with, the way Pro Tools has come along and the way, recording equipment and computers and everything have made it to where you can almost record anywhere. We wanted to try to do the biggest sounding record for the least amount of money possible. We wanted to do it on a shoestring budget, but we wanted it to sound like we'd spent, $1 million on it. And that was the goal, and that was basically where we came in at. we knew that we weren't going to be able to tour hardly at all on that, only because side projects are cool, but nobody's quitting their day jobs.
Right.
In our side project, we have members of, Creed Off the Bridge and Tremonti, and then Sevendust, and none of those bands are really going anywhere. All of those bands are still active, still functional bands. So it wasn't like we knew that we would make a record and then we'd be able to hop on the road for 6 months. It was like, if we get to do a show here or there, occasionally, if we get a short window to do a few things, that's cool, but you couldn't put a lot of pressure on it, and you couldn't really shop it as a traditional record deal, because, most people were like, they ask the question, well, how much touring can you commit to it? And, when you tell them none, they go, well, how do we invest money into something that we're not sure if we're ever going to be able to get it back? So doing the record at the house was a very conscious, choice. It was something that I'd always wanted to do. I always knew that I could pull it off. You're still doing some smoke and mirrors with things, and how you go and mix, and, having Elvis Basquiat come in and mix it, and then having Ted Jensen master it. I've worked with Ted probably exclusively, I think, for about 7 or 8 years now. And he's just kind of the equalizer. I can give him almost anything, and I know what I'm going to get. And he gets our kind of music like nobody else does. But, we knew that we wanted to do it cheaply, and we wanted to do it at home, and we didn't want to, it's a lot more fun when you can unplug and go and actually sleep in your own bed, or go lay on your own couch and watch a movie, or go to dinner with your family. It's awesome to go into the studio, but nowadays I don't know if it's as necessary as it used to be. Even the way we make the Sevendust records, we still use a studio, but we're not using, we're not running these massive budgets up and spending money like, there's so many bands back in the day, how many millions did you spend on your record? How many years did it take to record it? It's not that necessary, really. The majority of what we did was all, based off what was available as far as Pro Tools and plugins and just things that we could actually manufacture here without the need of a studio. We still did real drums and all the loud guitars in a studio, but I think we were in and out of the studio in maybe 8 or 9 days. And then all the rest of it was just, we put a guitar amp in a closet, and we had the vocal mic in another closet. And, me and Eric and Vinny just kind of round robin, we just went around and filled in parts. And then once we had it all together, we took it up to the studio and put the pieces together and crossed our fingers and held our breath and just said, all right, hopefully this thing will turn out to be good. And, I think I spent maybe a tenth of the amount of money that we spent making some of our, better sounding Sevendust records, and the sonic results for what we got out of it was just, it was ridiculous. We didn't spend anything and we got so much out of it. So yeah, I think recording has changed a lot. I think, if you're crafty and you're pretty witty on how you get around in the computer and how you actually get an input signal into the machine, you can make a record almost anywhere.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to have a true treated studio environment to be able to, play that smoke and mirrors game, because, technology has given us the tools to be able to do a lot of things. I think with Pro Tools, you can abuse that privilege. It's kind of like Pandora's box. It's like once you open it, then it's like, you can make anyone sound good through auto-tune and editing and all kinds of stuff like that. But that was also another thing that we were very, very, very conscious of as well. We wanted to more, treat it more like we did back in the day when you were recording on tape. Leave a lot of the human in there. As a whole, the projected album was called Human for that reason. If something wasn't perfect, or you heard, a finger rub up and down on a string, we didn't take that out. We left a lot of those things in there because it's real people making real music.
Yeah.
You can definitely get it to the point where the computer can tidy everything up and then you just suck all the human out of it. But for us, we wanted to try to keep as much of that in there, and that's something that we were very conscious with Sevendust as well.
As a fan, especially me sitting here talking to you and just an avid listener and lover of music pretty much, I eat it, breathe it, and sleep it, you'd know when a band is flowing through an album and making it, and when you can feel it from them, it's a perfect album. Sure,
yeah. And it's all just a matter of the chemistry and the luck and being able to capture the moment, and then having, enough songs where you look at each other and you go, okay, do we have the record or not? There's been so many times where, you know, Animosity is a great example. That record's probably the record that cost us the most. It probably took the longest to record, but it was only because we had the label and management both in our ears telling us, well, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that, maybe you should resync this, maybe you should redo this song. And we did a lot of things that were just, you know, not smart moves, only because we were, you know, everyone's trying to make it better, but sometimes, you know, spending money and doing things over and over again, sometimes it's counterproductive. You know, sometimes your instincts are, you know, what is going to get you from point A to point B. Yeah. And if it takes you that long to make the music, then maybe there's a reason. Maybe it wasn't as good in the first place, you know. So for us, it's more like, hey, you know what? Let's not second guess things, and let's not let all the, you know, the suits and the folks that aren't in the band. You know, I definitely appreciate our radio department and our, you know, distribution company and everyone, you know, with their insight on how we roll stuff out and how we market the actual record. But as far as the songs, I mean, the 5 guys in the band should know better than anybody. Yeah. This is a good Sevendust song or this is not. Yeah. And if it's not, then we fix it, you know, plain and simple.
Right. Because, I mean, you guys have been there since day one, and you guys know exactly what you want to put out.
Yeah. And we know when we play stuff, I mean, we don't just go off our 5 opinions. I mean, we lean on our families and our friends really hard when we're making records. And when we see a reaction to a song that's a really positive one, we go, okay, cool. When we play a song for folks and people lose interest and go and start talking about something else, we all kind of look at each other and go, huh, what happened there, you know? And it every now and again, it's usually one of those songs that's like super special to us. We're like, all right, maybe we got to dig in and kind of tweak it a little bit. But I don't think anyone really knows how we're supposed to sound better than we do at this point. You know, we've worked with so many different amazing producers. We've had amazing experiences learning, you know, making a record with, you know, Ben Gross or making a record with Johnny Kay or Toby Wright or any of those guys. Every experience that we had, we've learned and we've taken things from it. You know, we figure out things that work well and things that don't, and we don't repeat the ones that didn't, and we try to do as much of the positive ones as we can. But you know, every time we go in the studio, it's like you got a new chance at a new version of a different piece of music. You know, and something that gets you excited. And if it gets you excited, you kind of know it. You know, the hairs on your arms stand up, and everyone starts, you know, vibing, and you know, the excitement is there. It's like it's just an infectious thing.
Yeah, it's like when I'm at a show, I want to hear exactly what's on that CD coming from you guys at that show. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to hear like some filler in or something. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. But we're also the worst at that, too, because we'll record stuff and then we'll get out on tour and not necessarily get bored with it, but we always want to juice things up. We always want to take it and make it a little, you know, the drum fill maybe have an extra little zip, or we may put extra little guitar bits or little vocal things in, just because it's just a musician that just comes out. You know, sometimes it just happens and you just go, okay, cool. You know, maybe we should have recorded it that way, but sometimes you don't know until you do it. Right. You know, 15 or 20 times that, oh, okay, you know. So we definitely take some liberty with the way that we perform a lot of that stuff, you know.
I wanted to say something else before we move on here. Speaking about the Black Album, how crazy is it that Metallica toured like 4+ years off that one album?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind, man. Yep. It's just crazy.
They toured forever. We've never toured a record for that long, but we did almost 500 shows on the first record. Yeah. And I remember actually having a conversation with Lars because he was talking about the whole 4 years on the Black Album, and they did 300 and some odd shows, and I was like, well, we did 462 shows in 18 months, and he looked at me and goes, why? And I was like, I don't know, because we were so excited, you know, coming out of the box, new record, you know, took a little while for it to catch, but once it caught, it was like, oh, man, be careful what you wish for, you know. For the first 6 months, we couldn't get a tour at all, and then all of a sudden, we got every tour opportunity on Earth, you know, because we were kind of one of those new, you know, to watch kind of bands. You know, we were under the radar, and then once we were on the radar, everybody wanted us, you know, from Megadeth to Ozfest to, you know, all those things. And you can't really say no when you're a new band. You know, when you're a new band, it's, you know, it's one of those things where you got to strike while the iron's hot, you know. So for us, doing a lot of shows on that record was, you know, it was something that we were excited about. We'd never been on the road before. So, you know, by the time we got finished, boy, we felt like we'd been on the road.
I'd say so. I mean, the first time I heard you guys, I heard Bitch, and your guitar part, it, man, really caught me. I was like, whoa, this is nice.
Right, and then it wasn't, and then it was again, and then it wasn't. You know? But I think that song kind of epitomizes what Sevendust is really all about, because we can be the heaviest band on earth, and LeJean does what LeJean does over the top of it, and he gives us an instant sense of melody that a lot of bands normally wouldn't have. You know, your typical metal band, you know, isn't going to have that kind of a vocal style like LeJean does. So, you know, it's like we're playing metal and he's doing gospel and R&B, you know, and it's the coolest mix in the world, because no matter what we do, we still have melody built into the equation.
Yeah,
but we're all fans of those melodic bands. I mean, we were huge Journey fans back in the day. You know, they used to get called corporate rock, but I'm telling you, those songs were amazing. The vocal melodies were just out of control, you know. So even though we were huge Pantera and Metallica fans, we always appreciated the really, really good singers, the talented, you know. And especially with LeJean, having someone who's got that kind of a voice and that kind of a skill set, you know, why not take advantage of it? I mean, at first we were trying to be just a typical heavy band, and it was like, no, this is stupid. He just needs to sing. Let him sing.
Perfect example of you guys being heavy and then going to something, you know, slow and everything was Angel Son.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The song that he did, man, you know, aside from you guys, oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where we ended up doing this, you know, when we're moving into our next, I don't want to say phase, it's just a different gear that we have. The whole acoustic record, you know, that for us has been something that once we did Angel Son, we realized, okay, we can do a lot of different kinds of music. You know, the difference between Bitch and Angel Son is you know, pretty extreme. There's not a lot of bands out there that would consciously say that both of those things are acceptable. You know, there's always been softer and slower songs on our records, but, you know, being something that is that acoustic based was a cool experiment, and something that we realized that our fans really, really loved. And the Southside Double Wide record that we did, that was just a promotional tour for Seasons. I mean, we were literally out there doing basically like a storyteller's kind of a vibe, and everyone said, well, you should go out there, preview the record, and then play some kind of a show. And we were like, we don't want to just go out there and play electric. Let's do something that we've never done before. So we said, let's try it acoustic. And that was back in 2003. So 11 years later, we finally come around to where we said, okay, you know, that was 14 shows. I mean, there's a lot of cities that didn't get any of those shows. So, you know, for us to do an entire record and then do an entire, you know, touring cycle based around the acoustic thing is, it's exciting for us, you know, because it gives us a chance to do something that's completely different from anything that Sevendust fans have ever heard. You know, doing an evening with, we'll be doing 2 sets. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll actually have an intermission. We'll have a complete set change. It's going to be a lot of songs that we've probably never, ever played before, including the 6 new ones, you know, which for us was really exciting, you know, to go in there and to redo a batch of the old stuff, but to also have brand new material, you know, 6 brand new songs that have never been recorded before was pretty exciting.
You know, I've always said that, and that's awesome that you guys are doing that. I mean, honestly, because I've always said, when a band can just sit down, strip their songs, make it acoustic, and make it sound like it is on a CD, that's freaking talent, my friend. That's a band.
Oh, man, well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, the funny thing about it is a lot of the, you know, people ask me all the time, like, how do you make the transition from electric to acoustic, especially on things, you know, like Enemy. Enemy is a perfect example of a song that, you know, nobody in a million years would have thought that started on acoustic guitar, but a lot of these songs are just, you know, you're sitting on the couch watching TV and the acoustic's sitting there and you just kind of start hammering it out, and a lot of these things start on acoustic. Mm-hmm. The original demo versions of them is just you with your voice and a guitar and an idea, and that's it, you know. You kind of hammer it out, you kind of organize it, and then you go, okay, cool, let me go in and let me apply the electric to it. Let's get some drums going and things like that. So sometimes making that shift back into the acoustic gear is really not that hard. It is a little intimidating when you think about how exposed you are. But I think that's the beauty of it, you know, is the fact that you really do strip it down. You know, a lot of people are like, are you guys going to be using like effects pedals or stuff like that? I don't think so. You know, I mean, we may do some really trippy setups for a couple songs that we're talking about doing, you know, the big percussion thing on, and we'll have keys and, you know, some added, you know, textures and layers and stuff. But I think, you know, most of it is just going to be us with the acoustics, you know. I mean, Morgan will have a traditional drum set, a little bit different from the normal one that he would play during an electric tour. But, you know, for us, it's exciting just to expose yourself that much, you know, to say, okay, there is no distortion, there's no whammy, there's no delay, there's no, you know, wall of effects and amps and stuff like that. It's just, you know, a line and a cable and a mic, and that's it, you know. But the cool thing is we really, really lean on LeJean on the acoustic stuff, because he just, there's something about when we play acoustic that, I mean, he's an amazing singer no matter what we do, but he has an extra gear that he only really jumps into when we are that exposed. And, you know, he gets emotional, he's very connected to the audience, and he turns it up to a whole nother level. You know, he gives us the ability to connect with our fans in a way that, you know, a lot of bands just don't ever get a chance to, but it's just because of just him being just how honest he is, you know, out there.
I got to see you guys, I think around 2001, 2002, at Huntington, West Virginia, at the local Bazooka Festival.
Oh, yeah.
It was outdoors, man, and God, you guys put an awesome show. Mushroom Head was there, Filter. Just a really awesome show, but yeah, I mean, Earshot was there too, which I don't hear much about those guys anymore. But
yeah, you know, it's funny. We actually, our sound engineer for about 8 years after that, he was running sound for Earshot. That's how we actually made the introduction to Andy, and he went on and ended up, he did 3 or 4 album cycles with us. But we've met so many people from so many of those tours, but that one tour in particular, we're still really, really tight with a lot of the folks that were involved in that tour.
But I mean, you guys did a hell of a show, man. I mean, you're right. When LeJean sings, it grabs your attention, and that's what you want. And you guys got the foundation for a great band, that's for sure.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I mean, he gives us an opportunity to not be just a typical metal band. And, you know, I think it's almost a double-edged sword, because sometimes it's almost like we can't really commit one way or the other. Like, are we a metal band? Are we a rock band? Are we an R&B? You know, like, what are we?
Make up your mind.
It can be frustrating sometimes, but I think I'd rather sound like Sevendust than anybody else.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I mean?
Agree.
I mean, we've got so many bands that we absolutely love, but, you know, just the fact that, you know, he grew up listening to completely different types of music than we did. Yeah. You know, if you go around this band, I mean, Vinny, our bass player, he's the AC/DC Skinner guy. You know, Morgan and Clint are the Nine Inch Nails guy. I'm the Metallica Pantera guy. And, you know, LeJean grew up listening to Otis Redding. I mean, he listened to R&B and gospel, and he was introduced to rock music right around the time that we started making music together, you know. And he listens to a lot of rock music now, but make no bones about it. He is a huge country fan, a huge R&B fan, and, you know, he's just passionate about music. It doesn't have to be, you know, rock music or metal or anything that's you know, something you think a typical singer would be into. You know, he's kind of all over the map.
Well, that's good. That makes you versatile anyway, you know?
Especially with him, with that kind of a voice, you know, where he can shift that gear and he can, you know, it's not even when he's singing sometimes. It's the stuff that he says in between the songs that I just go, all right, you're the best front man I've ever heard in my life, because I never in a million years would have thought to go on that train of thought or to say that, you know, something so cool as he does. But that's just him being him, you know.
Well, since you guys came off of the hiatus, came back and did Black Out the Sun, how much fan support and reception have you got off the album from the fans?
Enormous. Black Out the Sun was... You know, we knew it was going to kind of play into our favor, taking Sevendust away from Sevendust fans for a while, because they're not used to it. And once they got it back, they were over the moon about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, we had a great, you know, debut on Billboard. First time we ever had the #1 rock record release. But just the push and the amount of momentum we had coming back into that album cycle was... it was incredible, you know, and it's kind of at a weird time. It's like, it's harder to sell CDs nowadays. Everyone wants the O's and the ones. They want the digital format. You know, it's easy to share music, meaning, you know, some people can take it. We used to do the same thing back in the day. I mean, we used to take our albums and make, you know, mixed tapes, and we used to pass them around and share them. But it's so much easier for people to do that nowadays that, you know, for us to actually sell as many as we did and have that much of a push out of the gate was, I mean, it was huge for us, you know, only because, like I said, the digital age is kind of caught up with everyone. You know, it's very easy to, you know, to borrow and or steal, you know, music, movies, whatever. But our fans are just, they're nothing short of amazing, you know, and the support we got coming back into it was incredible.
So do you like the digital age, man? You know, because...
I do.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, you know, for 3 or 4 years, you know, if you hang out with too many people in the music business, it's like, oh, you know, we can't sell CDs anymore, and, you know, the business is just, it's, you know, it's all going downhill. If you think about it, there's more music fans on earth than there ever used to be. Yeah. And just because people are taking music doesn't mean, like I said earlier, making the actual music doesn't have to cost a fortune either. You know, so if I'm spending a tenth of the amount of money that I used to spend to make a record, and I don't sell as many records, then it all kind of evens out at the end of the day anyways. Because those people are going to go to the show, and they're going to buy the shirt, and they're going to support us. You know, used to be years ago, you would do a tour, and the tour would maybe break even, and you made most of your money off selling the records. Nowadays, it's just completely flip-flopped. You know, the tour, the VIP experiences, all the special stuff that we do, you know, between the band and the fan, that's the stuff that we can make a living on. I mean, I'm actually at the point now where I'm trying to give the music away for free. I'm like, you know what? There's no better advertisement than free beer. You know, I mean, put it out there. Just put it on your website. The only thing that we would ever ask you for is just an email address, you know, just a way to get in contact with you and send you email blasts and things like that. But you don't need to spend a lot of money to, you know, to promote music nowadays. You really don't. Between the touring and YouTube and the social medias, I mean, you can get a Facebook, a Twitter, and Instagram, and you can have, you know, pictures and contact stuff go around the world, you know, in a matter of minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 20 years ago, we were standing outside the club giving away cassettes.
I still
giving
got
away
cassettes.
These demos of cassettes, you know. So the computer has made life so much easier for the artist. It takes you getting over the whole, oh, they're stealing my music, before you realize, wait a minute, you know, it's way easier to get anything done. So I do like the digital age, you know. I think sound quality, I'm still kind of a purist, but there is something really nice about being able to grab your iPhone and have access to 20,000 songs at the push of a button. You know, the convenience factor of it, the fact that I can hear something, I can Shazam it, and then I can actually buy the song on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, you never could do that back in the day. So
you don't have
now there's never the mystery. Oh, who sings that song?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let me Shazam it real quick.
You could buy one song instead of buying the whole album. But
sure, yeah.
But to me though, I still got cassettes and I won't part with them, and I still had the CDs and things like that. But to me, it's the fact of having it, the whole album right there in your hand,
Sure.
to see the art cover, to see the things like that. I mean, that's what got me into music, and seeing the art covers and stuff. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah.
That's how I became an Iron Maiden fan.
That's the cool thing about vinyl, with the whole vinyl thing coming back, because it gives you such a big piece of, you know, something to work with the artwork. You know, we're talking about doing some short runs of the acoustic record and maybe Black Out the Sun and start working our way back. But, you know, you open it up, you've got the double thing, you can pull it out, you can put posters in it. As a fan, I still, you know, I'm a Lamb of God fan. I don't buy Lamb of God songs, I buy the record. When the new record comes out, I buy the whole thing. Same thing with Metallica, I buy the whole thing. Now, you know, that's not to say that I might not hear a song from someone I'm not familiar with and buy the song and then become a fan, you know, later on down the road. But I love the album too, but it's you know, it's kind of like wishing that there'll be less computers on Earth next year than there are this year.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. You know, technology is moving at such a rapid pace that you either adapt or, you know, or you don't. You know,
you're gone in like 30 minutes, for real.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Would you guys prefer clubs, festivals? Does it even really matter?
I think at this point it doesn't really even matter. I mean, we've done so many, huge festivals. I think the weekend festivals are a special treat for us only because we get to see bands that we don't normally tour with all the time. Some bands that we may never have played with in an entire album cycle or something like that. When we do these big, rock fests or, big day outs and stuff like that, we're fans. So, I mean, if we're not up on stage jamming or doing, interviews and press, we're out there, watching all of our favorite bands. So for us, it's a special treat. As far as the actual show, I'm not going to lie, it's cool to get in front of, 50, 60,000 people and play. But there's also something very, very special about getting, in a 800 seat club that's completely jam-packed and being able to actually see everybody's face as they're singing your songs back to you. It's a connection that you don't necessarily get when you're on such a big stage, when you're doing arenas and things like that. But, for us, honestly, just having people that are interested in seeing us, no matter the size of the room, 20 years into this thing, I look at it and I go, wow. I mean, we're just blessed to have people that, still think that we're cool.
Oh, I do. I sure as hell do.
Well, thank you, man. That's awesome.
I love playing y'all's music on the show.
Very cool.
I even play the old stuff, so thank God for you guys and thank God for all the good music that's out there. And that's just mutual respect, honestly.
Well, that's how we are. I mean, at the end of the day, if we didn't do this and we weren't actually musicians, we're still huge music fans.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody in the band, is an enormous, music fan. We've got huge collections. We love going to the concerts. We love seeing shows, and that's just something I don't think it'll ever go away. I mean, if you're a football fan, you're usually a football fan for life, and it's the same thing with music.
Yep.
I don't understand when people. I know a lot of people who just they're not music fans. They just don't go to shows and they don't listen to radio, and I could never imagine life being like that,
I just recently got to go see Danzig, and I've been a Danzig fan forever. So that was
Yeah.
back in October. Like I said, I eat music, I breathe music, I sleep music. Even when I'm going to sleep,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about bands to interview.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a cool thing. I mean, so what can fans expect at a show from Sevendust for the ones that's not been to them and you need to go? But tell them what they can expect.
Well, on the acoustic tour, it's going to be something like we've never done before. I mean, it's the first time we've ever committed to doing an evening with, doing the two sets with an intermission. We'll be playing a lot more music than we've ever played, just as far as the amount and then the length of the set. But, for us, with the acoustic thing, it gives us an opportunity to do something totally different. And we haven't completely decided on, what the stage setup is. We've got plenty of ideas that we're beating around. The list of songs is enormous that we're going to try to get to and we're going to try to go through. But, for us, it's just, I think to try to explain what Sevendust is to somebody who's never seen it before, it's just energy and honesty. It's just us doing what we do. On our good days, we're one of the best bands in the world. On our bad days, we're one of the worst, but we're always Sevendust, and we're always honest about what we do and why we do it and the music that we make, we absolutely love. We're fans of our music first. It's very difficult when, I hear bands that go, oh man, I can't believe I got to play that song again. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a cool song, and you did write it. So for us, we really do, there's some of the older songs we're like, oh, maybe we should give it a break for a little while. And kind of the same thing with taking that break. You get away from it. Mm-hmm. And you miss it, and then you put it back in the set, and you go, what were we thinking? Why did we ever take a break from that one,
Yeah.
But you just kind of have to keep things in perspective. But, yeah, for us, I think for someone who's never seen us, there's a lot of energy on the stage. There's a lot of energy, and there's a lot of emotion that comes out of LeJean, both in the singing and in the way that he's going to interact with the crowd and connect with people.
The first time that you heard the fans sing along to LeJean and you on stage, can you talk about that? How was that?
It's funny because Black is probably Black is that one song that It's just it's never going to go away.
No.
We tried to pull it off the first record, and everyone looked at us and said, "You guys are stupid.
There'll be a riot.
That's got to be your first single. That's everything." But the funny thing is, that was the first song I ever wrote. And you always think, you're going to write a couple songs, you kind of get your bearings, and then, finally you get to the good stuff. But that literally was the first song that I ever wrote, start to finish. So it was kind of, for me to sit there and think that was version 1, and I don't mean like kind of related to version 1 or back in the beginning. That was it. That was it before there was a band. That song existed. So it's still, to this day, when I sit there and I think how many times we played that song and how passionate the fans are about that song. I mean, if you don't get excited when people are reacting to something that you've done, something that you're proud of, then, I guess I got nothing for you.
It's like Ted Nugent said.
It's the coolest feeling in the world, really. It really is. It's humbling, but it kind of takes you back, to that spot that you were when you wrote it, all that many years ago.
It's like Ted Nugent said, if you can't have fun with him and his music, you're effing crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the way we are too, I mean, we've got a handful of songs that I'm not going to say that, we don't like, but sure, there's ones on the record that you go, maybe we should have spent a little bit more time, or maybe we should have been listening to the label. Anytime you get the bug in the ear and someone's like, you should write something that's a little more, radio-oriented or something like that, then there's an agenda, and then there's a reason other than just making the music. So, the stuff I think that we're most passionate about is the stuff that we kind of, we stick to our guns and we don't bend and we don't flex and give in to those things. But, for us, it's just, it's been an amazing journey. It really has, and for the same 5 guys that started it to still be doing it and still really, really love each other, that's an anomaly too. We sit there and we look at how many bands have all original 5 guys.
Yeah.
And all original 5 guys that legitimately, people freak out when, they'll see us out on the road and we're sitting at a Fridays and it's everybody in the band. They're like, "You guys actually hang out together." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?"
No, we all got.
We were actually friends before we started the band, and we're still friends.
We all take separate limousines and helicopters.
Right.
People can just, be so blinded by what you see on TV. It's just not even funny.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you think that Sevendust brings to the table for music?
I hope in some ways that we try to. It's hard to reinvent the wheel. It really is. Right. I don't think we're at the point in our career where we're going to try to reinvent what we are as a band. I think we just try to be more true to what we are as a band. And, the music we make is music that we love to hear and music that we love to play. And it's a passion. It's something that we're very passionate about. We take very seriously, but at the same time, we want people to have a good time when they're experiencing it, whether they're singing it or whether they're, bouncing up and down, or whether there's a pit, or whether, you're at a radio show or an acoustic show. We're into it, believe it or not. I mean, we're still very into that, the music that, all of our fans are as well. So for us, it's just, it's been such a cool trip, such a cool journey.
I just got a couple more questions here and I'll let you go.
Sure.
I mean, this has been a cool, really, really awesome interview. What does it mean to you when a fan comes up to you, either they see you out somewhere or after a show, or email you and say, "John, Sevendust's music has helped me through some times." What's that mean to you guys?
It means the world, because I know that there's been, a handful of songs that were, written for certain situations, Angel Sun, with the loss of Lynn and, different things like that I know a lot of people can relate to. We're real big on wearing our heart on our sleeve when we write too. Everything that we write comes from a personal experience or somebody else's personal experience. Sometimes we finish each other's ideas and thoughts because we spend so much time together. There's a song on the new record called "The Weight" that was basically a song that was inspired about the loss of my father. And the whole band was there with me while I was going through that on the road. So when we got in the studio to actually work on it, it was easy for them to help because they were there. They were there through all of it. They saw all of it go down. Clint lost his father the year before, so he had a direct connection to what I was feeling and what I was going through. But we're not one to write about science fiction stuff. We're not one to write about vampires or, space zombies and stuff like that, which is totally cool if that's what your band's into. But for us, we're really, really wearing our heart on our sleeve. Everything that we're writing about usually has a connection to either something that inspired us, something that we've, been through, a loss, could be positive. Sometimes it's easier to focus on the negative. But I think in some ways when you put it out there and you're honest with people and people get that connection and they get that, I understand what you were feeling because I felt the same way when I was going through something in my life, and immediately they relate to it. It's an amazing thing. For us it's like therapy, but it's one step further when we hear how it affects other people as well. And there's nothing short of amazing when someone can tell me that something that we did, some little piece of music that we made, help them get through something or help, put a certain situation into perspective. I mean, it's incredible.
Any new bands you're listening to right now that has made you fuel the fire for your guitar playing, make you want to, go to another level as a guitar player?
Lamb of God. Mark Morton and Willie Adler, those two have completely single-handedly helped me reinvent myself. Just the whole approach to how I played guitar. I think the last guy that probably had that much of an impact on me was probably Dimebag Darrell, and it was two parts with him. Number one, the fact that he was hands down one of the most incredible musicians I'd ever seen. But the second part was, I lived in Dallas for a while, so we actually became quite close. He was just one of the best human beings ever. It's so disheartening when I meet an idol or someone I've looked up to and they're not cool or they're not personable or you've heard some horror stories about, oh God, I hope you get them on a good day. Yeah. Dime was never that dude. Dime was always a sweetheart. He was always wanting to make you feel like you were the life of the party. But once you got that, figured out and realized how cool he was, and then you put the actual musicianship on top of it. I mean, Pantera took what Metallica did, and they gave it a swagger. They gave it something that no other band on earth will probably ever even come close to recreating again, other than Lamb of God. Lamb of God had that new breath of fresh air. For me, it was like, okay, I'm a metalhead. I'm big into melody, but I'm also big into metal too. And that band for me, just from a guitar playing standpoint, was so outside the box. It was so upside down and backwards and abnormal. And it definitely had a huge impact on the way that I, approached the projected record. And I'm working on another projected record now too, But that band is probably one of those bands that has done it. Dillinger and Escape Plan. Can't help but listen to those guys and go, what is going on?
That's
true. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, wait a minute, rewind that again. Bands like Tesseract, bands like Periphery, all these new progressive bands that are really kind of pushing the envelope and kind of, doing things that aren't normal.
Behemoth?
They're hugely inspirational for me,
Behemoth is one of them too. Behemoth is pretty good.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. A band like Mastodon.
Oh, yes.
Their whole approach to melody is just so not normal, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the way it all comes together for those guys is just like, okay, they sound like Mastodon and nobody else,
Very true, very true. The state of metal music today, once Metallica is gone, Maiden, Priest, and all these guys, do you see another band that will rise to the occasion and have so much success like those guys and carry the torch?
I think, I hate to keep harping on the Lamb of God thing, but I think Lamb of God, they're kind of in a weird spot because the last record was great, but the record before that, Wrath, I think they had raised the bar to the point. Metallica was always that band that would raise the bar. It was like, okay, you can't get any faster, you can't play any more notes, you can't get any heavier, you can't play a longer song, and then they would do it, and then they'd outdo themselves. Yeah. Pantera did the same thing. They kept pushing the envelope. The Lamb of God's kind of in a weird spot where I think they, with the right record and the right approach, because Randy's a screamer, but Randy's a screamer who screams hooks. They're hooks all day long. I mean, they may be the heaviest hook that you've ever heard, but they're hooks that are inherent in that music the same way Pantera could get away with it too. You know, I mean, Pantera would have songs that never in a million years ever should have survived or existed on the radio. But,
exactly.
you know, Walk is a perfect example. That is just a hook that is that's going to stand the test of time.
Yep.
I think Lamb of God has a huge opportunity to be that, okay, we're going to take over and we are going to be the top metal band out there. Other than that, I think the only other band that has an opportunity to really, really, really push the envelope as far as the whole progressive thing goes, dear friends of mine, but Alter Bridge is another amazingly underrated band, especially here in the States. And, you know, to think where they came from in the Creed days to what they're doing musically now, they're doing something to me that's fresh. You know, it's a breath of fresh air. I mean, being dear friends of mine, obviously I've got a little bit of favoritism towards it, but even if I wasn't friends, I would be an enormous fan. I would own every record. Miles Kennedy is hands down one of the best singers in rock, one of the best guitar players as well. I mean, Mark is a tremendous guitar player, but most people don't realize what a good guitar player Miles is. And, you know, that band I think has an opportunity as well. I think they're right there on the cusp of being, okay, we can pretty much do anything that we want to.
I think Mark is a really underrated guitar player, and people don't give him much credit but that he deserves because he's an excellent guitar player, man.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, it's not something that he has natural ability, there's no doubt about it. But he also spends the time, he woodsheds. You know, you talk to Steve Vai, and he's like, you know, Steve Vai is like, when I'm on tour, I'm playing guitar at least 5-6 hours a day. It was like every day between sound check, the show, me working on things and stuff like that. And Mark is the same way. When it's time for him to get to work, he gets to work. I mean, there's days where he'll play guitar for 7-8 hours a day. He'll basically play until, you know, his fingers are just not working anymore. I mean, he pushes the envelope and pushes himself so hard and so far. But his work ethic is nothing short of amazing, you know.
Now, you said, you know, Miles Kennedy. I've got to say this right here, right now on this show. When I heard Miles Kennedy play with Slash and play the Guns N' Roses songs, to hear him sing some of those, it sent chills up me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was like,
I'm not trying to knock on Axl and any of his things, but there's something about the way Miles approaches some of that stuff that I actually kind of liked a little better.
Oh, when he does Civil War, man, it's like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He can sing. Jesus, he can sing.
All right, man, my last question for you, and I'll let you go. And this is a good one here. This is funny. Strangest place a new song came to you.
Strangest place a new song came to me. You know, it's funny because, I mean, being friends with Eddie Van Halen and Dime, they were always really big about writing on the shitter. And I've never been able to do that. I've never had one song idea come to me while I'm sitting on the toilet. But those guys literally had an amp and a guitar in the bathroom. And they said that that's where 90% of their stuff came from. I'm just like, oh, man, why couldn't it be so cool that that's what would happen? I think, honestly, for me, the strangest place that I ever had a song idea was at about 80 feet below the surface of the ocean, going through a wreck dive. I got inspired. I got a song idea and I literally had to hum it all the way until we finished the dive, and I got back up and could actually get to my phone where I could actually, you know, just kind of jot it in there real quick. But that was probably one of the oddest ones, you know, like, okay, there's not a chance at the bottom of the ocean that I'm going to have any ability to actually, you know, remember this. So I had to sing it enough times where it just kind of stuck in my head. But that's probably the oddest one for me.
That's so cool. Oh, usually I hear strip club.
And now I'm going to go take a guitar and an amp and put it in the bathroom because I'm just bound and determined to write the best song ever sitting on the toilet.
There you go. What are you doing in there? Leave me alone. Call it John. Hey, I'm writing our greatest hits right now.
Oh, yeah.
New one.
You mean greatest hits or greatest shits? Wait a minute.
Oh, man, how can people get a hold of you guys and say, hey, we love your music, want to buy your merchandise? How can they do that, or just to say hi?
How can they get a hold of us?
Yeah, how can they get a hold of you guys just to buy your merchandise or say hello, we love your music? How can they do that?
Oh, I mean, we're pretty actually active on most of the social medias and stuff like that. I mean, we get people that write on Facebook all the time. Facebook is a little tougher. We got about, I think, 800,000 or 900,000 people that are kind of active on there. But we just got an Instagram set up, and I'm actually our personal Instagrams and Facebooks, we're very, very connected to our fans. We all kind of have a different social media. Like Clinton Morgan are more of the Twitter guys. I'm more of the Facebook, Instagram guy. LeJean is more of the Instagram buying guy. And Vinny just really doesn't. He and computers don't really vibe too well. So he's kind of he's not that he's against it by any means, but he's just not as in tune with it. But he'll also, be the mayor. He'll be the guy out there meeting everybody, face to face, hand to hand. He'll be the first out there to sign autographs and stuff. But yeah, most of the social medias, I mean, we can actually be reached out and contacted through. It may take us a little bit to get back to you, but we do our best to get around to as much as we can.
Hey, before I let you go, will you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure. All right. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is John from Sevendust, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. April the 1st, Athens, Georgia, Acoustic Tour Sevendust kicks off. Get your tickets. Go to their website. Get them right now before they sell out, because I'm pretty sure they will. Get it while you can. Go check them out. We got some more music coming up right now, right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. So stick around, everybody. Thanks, John.
Absolutely, my brother.